right, good morning, folks. Today is Wednesday, May 11th, Hump Day! Welcome to the Daily Cyber Threat Brief, Simply Cyber's morning cybersecurity threat briefing. I'm your host, Gerald Auger, and over the next 30 minutes, I'll be delivering the top cybersecurity news of the day and providing expert analysis on each of these stories. What it means to you as a practitioner, or if you're looking to break into the industry, definitely value for everybody here. So get in here, get comfortable, get your coffee, let's get busy. Shout out and thanks to this stream's sponsor, Barricade Cyber Solutions. Cyber criminals have stolen your company's data and derailed your business operations. Barricade Cyber Solutions will help you resolve this ransomware attack and get your business back on track. I want to remind you, if you hold professional certifications that require CPEs, each episode of First Things First is worth half a CPE. They stack. So 2.5 a week, 10 a month. You'll be knocking out CPEs like a boss in no time. So be sure to document literally the easiest way, and I would argue one of the most enjoyable ways to earn CPEs. So just drop a comment in chat. You'll show up in the stream. It'll be memorialized forever. And you can send auditors to the to the Simply Cyber Daily Threat Briefing feeds for their audit. If you're live, love it. I see you guys stacking up in here. Hey, Lupe and David and Brox, Peter Parker. 48 of us already. Thanks for being here. If you're on replay, thanks for catching the stream. I know it's not possible to be live every day, and I enjoy and appreciate that you come by and get your daily news. If you want to jump right to the news, if you're watching on replay, when the ticker right next to the middle of my face, kind of next to the word brief, gets to 0, we'll start the briefing. So feel free to grab that time bar and take advantage of the fact that this happened in the past and slide it to the right to jump right to the news. But for the next 2 minutes and 31 seconds, I will be happily welcoming folks into stream. Good morning, everybody. Hey, Stefan Semmelroth, good to see you. Sabasat, good to see you. Matthew Dimmick, Leon. Hey, guys. Christopher Ward, good to see you. Some of you have already identified it. I saw Brian Peak was first to market with this. Guys, if you are squad team, we got 2 new emotes on the YouTube. So if you're a squad team member, I told you I'm going to be dropping these emotes based on community feedback and everything. We have a Carl emote and Kimberly, your favorite, Randy Moss, straight cash, homie. So feel free to use those emotes as you deem fit if you're in the squad. Hey, Pamela, good to see you. Nick Barker, every morning. It's good morning. Hey, Spastic. Yeah, I know the banner still says First Things First. I saw that at 7:57 this morning, and I've learned from experience trying to make edits right before going live typically does not work out well for me. So I actually have an action item on my to-do list to get this corrected. So little by little, people, you know how we make 1% change for the better every day? That'll be the 1% for today. Hey, Pete McKinnon, Justin Gold, Rob Dalton, good to see you. Michelle Murphy, good morning. Hey, Patrick, love it. Patrick was here. Patrick, we have Patrick. Patrick was here. Love it. Love it. Thank you, Patrick. Hey, Carrie, good to see you. Hey, Cyber. Yes, Carl. Carl's in the hizzy. I love it. Axiom Brevity. Hey, Joseph, good to see you. Benny Rodriguez, all caps, good morning. Got the coffee flowing, people. Guys, I'll be teasing it later, obviously, but today is Let's Play Wednesdays. So since I'm going to be a hacktivist pissed off at oil and gas up in North Dakota, got my red team. I'm going to be a hacktivist. I'm going to bring down the man, take on capitalism. Good morning, Dr. Auger. Hey, LinkedIn user. I wish it wouldn't always be random or anonymous on LinkedIn, but good morning to you. Guys, remember, if you jump over, this is pushed to LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. But on the YouTube feed is all the extra emotes and a little bit more funner stuff. So if you're on the fence, hop over on the YouTube stuff and we'll get in there. Hey, JP. Hey, Chris Hughes. Good to see you. Love it, guys. Hey, Base. Good to see you, West Coast Base, early in the morning. All right, guys. Looks like we got to 0. Let me slug one more hit of this coffee. Oh my God, so good. So good. I'm so particular too. Like, I drink only the same coffee. All right, guys, if you want to play along, go to cisoseries.com. cisoseries.com. This is the podcast that we leverage in order to get our morning news, and we piggyback on top of it. David Spark, thank you, David Spark and his gang over there. Remember, guys, if, I got some DMs yesterday. Like if the sound effects don't jive with you, right? If the style that I roll with doesn't jive with you, that's totally cool. Everybody's entitled to their own thing. So if Simply Cyber's daily threat briefing isn't your speed, or I'm just too much first thing in the morning, definitely consider going to CISO series on your own and getting this content daily. It's very, very valuable as a practitioner to stay informed on these things. And you can get it just from their podcast as well. I just add a little bit of coloring to the black and white photo each morning. Okay. So let's get into the stories, guys.
From the CISO series, it's cybersecurity headlines.
Let me know if the volume's too loud on the TV.
It's Wednesday, May
Hey, Lupe.
11th, 2022. Russian TV hacked on Victory Day. Early Monday morning, as Russian TV stations prepared to air Vladimir Putin's annual Victory Day parade held at Red Square, pro-Ukrainian hackers took aim at the TV outlets, posting anti-war messages including, quote, "the blood of thousands of Ukrainians and hundreds of their children on your hands," end quote. The hack, which is likely the work of Anonymous, affected online streaming and satellite broadcasts of several providers and also disrupted TV Svedsa, a channel run by the Russian Defense Ministry.
All right. Yes. So, akin to the 1995 movie Hackers, um, Ukrainian IT army, or somebody kind of a variant of it, hacked the TV stations in Russia and played pro-Ukrainian, anti-Russian military propaganda. Very effective, guys. Remember, when in military operations, right? Information is part of the dime ways of influencing national power, right? There's diplomacy, information, military, and economic. These are the four ways that a world power can like put itself onto another world power. Information is power. And if you are able to not just undermine the point of what the Russian TV was trying to do that day with, like, pro-Russia patriotism, these type of things, and actually hack it, you're undermining the confidence in the system itself. Plus, you're pushing your own messaging and information to the masses who are definitely tuning in. So, just like taking the politics out of it, just as a tactic, very, very effective. Then, because it's they hack the TV stations, man. That's really. I'm not saying we should do it here. I just think it's a really cool hack, like, to be able to do. I mean, they could have put anything on, right? They could have put Reading Rainbow or something like that. So anyways, the story of how the Ukrainian Russian conflict with regards to cyber capabilities continues to evolve. Once this conflict is sorted out, it'll be really interesting from a post-mortem perspective to evaluate and retrospectively analyze the way cyber capabilities were actually used. Very, very interesting.
Pledges to help Ukraine keep internet and lights running. On Tuesday, the U.S. State Department announced a coordinated governmental effort to help Ukraine protect their electrical grid and internet access. Aid will include FBI intelligence on cyber attacks planned against Ukraine, technical support, and thousands of communication devices provided by the U.S. Agency for International Development and CISA, and the Department of Energy helping integrate Ukraine's electrical grid with the European Network of Transmission System Operators for Electricity, which will help bolster both security and resiliency.
Okay, cool. So, all right, again, not getting political, but this is interesting. So, essentially, and again, guys, huge asterisk, big disclaimer. I'm not a geopolitical strategist. I don't work at, the Atlantic Council or anything like that. Here's just my take on this. It's been made very clear that if any country gets involved from a military capacity in the Ukrainian conflict, Russia will see that as an act of war, or entering the war and begin attacking. So the United States obviously has a vested interest in Ukraine remaining independent, right? So how can they help? That's not a military way. This is it. Think, like, the way that I'm thinking about this is that, like, Ukraine is suffering a cyber attack. I know it's much bigger than that. Suffering a cyber attack, and they've called in professional services to come help them. And that's at a global level what is happening, right? So the United States is providing tech support, hands-on tech support. So engineers, they're providing intelligence, up-to-date intel, and technical details around kind of the leadership and strategic execution of Ukraine defending itself. So a lot of this really seems more associated with, which makes sense for us, right? Technology and cybersecurity. But this is a way for the United States to basically engage and provide material support to Ukraine in a way that does not violate the terms of international norms of war and those type of things. So very interesting. Obviously, the United States is a very much a first world power when it comes to intelligence capabilities. We're hearing about CISA shields up and all these things with agriculture and in critical infrastructure and stuff like that. So we have the intel, and it's great that we're sharing it with Ukraine. My thing is, I hope Ukraine is, and this isn't a knock on Ukraine. I hope Ukraine is in a place and has the capacity to take this information and be able to do something with it, and to take these resources and be able to do something with it. Because just because you get it doesn't mean you can do anything with it, right?
Pentagon's concerns about Chinese interests may prompt vetting startups. Congress may soon require government agencies to vet tech startups seeking federal funding after a Defense Department study found that China is benefiting from the Pentagon's Small Business Innovation Research Program, or SBIR. The report highlighted several case studies which have, quote, national and economic security implications, end quote, including American companies dissolving so its members could join Chinese government talent programs, as well as venture capital recipients redirecting funds to Chinese organizations supporting the country's defense industry. The report concludes that the SBIR, which expects to award $3.9 billion this year, requires enhanced due diligence and oversight.
Oh my God, dude, it's all about the money. It's all about the money. Like, this is gross. Okay. So, on its surface, there's the Pentagon Department of Defense has this program that's sending money. Okay, hold on one second. Like, has this program that's sending money out to small businesses and to help fund startups, right? Really, like, let's get the US economy going. Let's help the small business. Let's allow innovation, right? And then it seems, based on this article, that we're seeing that either Chinese government, Chinese citizens, or whatever, are somehow engaging the mechanisms and the processes of getting access to this money in order to get the money. Now, it doesn't go into account for whether or not they're actually delivering value, whether they're actually doing what this is called for, and it just happens to be Chinese backed. But then you see all of these, like, hold on, this guy right here, Charles Lieber, found guilty of lying about his ties to Chinese government talent program, right? So, like, obviously, money is exchanging hands. People are, I don't know, man. Money is bad. I mean, money's really good, but it's like the root of all evil, right? There's a reason that saying exists. So, the one thing I would say about this is the concern, I believe, from the US perspective, is supply chain issues. Not only is it possible that someone or some government, some entity or whatever is abusing the system to get access to money that may or may not be reasonable, right? So, like, fraud. And we saw this with the COVID loans, the PPP loans, right? There was tons of fraud with that. So it's not just like a Chinese thing. So I'm not painting the picture that way. But I am, just so you guys know, I am currently reading this document, which will be probably my radar item next week or this Friday, right? The 800-161R1. It's 326 pages. I got to page 165 yesterday. And I mean, it basically lays out that supply chain. The further up you go the supply chain, the less you have visibility on how secure something is. And I really honestly believe it's not the money that the DoD is concerned about. It's baking in backdoors, callbacks, beaconing, sniffers, these type of things, baking them into technology that goes upstream into DoD projects and contracts. That's what I honestly think that this is. But the money part of it is easier to digest and sexier. So I would argue that's why that's the lead on this particular story. I'd be interested to go back and look at chat and see what people think.
Security assessments significantly impacting vendors. A new study by Wistic highlights the business impacts of performing vendor security assessments. The report found that with the rise in data breaches caused by third-party vendor vulnerabilities, the number of vendors assessed annually increased by 20% from the prior year. And while vendors invest significant time and resources in undergoing SOC 2 or ISO 27001 assessments, 77% of companies indicated it is very likely or likely that they will still ask for additional security documentation. Unfortunately, these assessments are not standardized, with 82% of companies using fully or partially customized security questionnaires to evaluate their vendors. On average,
Oh, hold on. Sorry.
vendors are spending over 80 hours per month responding to security assessments, with 79% of them saying that these assessments add a week to the sales cycle or more if their customers need clarification on any of their responses.
Okay, real quick. Matt Jones, I just saw his message in chat here. Matt Jones is in the house. Guys, say hi to Matt Jones. He's going to become a regular here, I hope. Love this guy. Worked with him for years. He is an amazing senior level cybersecurity architect. Now, he brings up the question about small business contracting to DoD. We won't get into that too much, but this topic right here is a hot topic worth sharing. Now, the screen share right here is pretty lame, so that's not really going to do much for you, but trust me on this one right now. And this is a big GRC thing. So if you're going to work in the GRC space, this will be something that you have to deal with. And it becomes disgusting when we start actually dealing with what the real value is of this. Okay. So here's the deal. And this all gets back to, again, 800-161. Gotta love the NIST, people. Listen to me. Okay. Hold on. Let's get spicy. Okay. Listen, security questionnaires. This is a thing in 2022. You're going to do business with someone. You're a small business and you're going to go do business with a large, I don't know, academic medical center, let's say. And you're like, hey, we want to do business. We sell this really cool widget. There's 4 of us here. We invented it. It's badass. Let's do it. And they're like, sure, just fill out this questionnaire. Here's 150 questions to fill out. And you're like, oh my God. So and this is the thing. Everybody's got these questionnaires. There's no standard. People ask, do you still have a modem connected to it? Or you're asking about what level of encryption do you have for your network traffic on the back end of your enterprise? Couple things here. One, who's filling this thing out, right? If it's a security professional or an IT person, they might be able to understand the questions. But if it's the sales guy, which it often is, they don't know what the hell, how to answer these questions. So they're just guessing or they skip it. Now, let's just say, for the sake of argument, you get a halfway decent response to your security questionnaire. What are you doing with that, right? The reason that you're talking to these people is because the business wants this widget, this bauble, this innovative piece of tech that's going to take them to the next level. So the security questionnaire is going to be the security office is going to be hey, listen, I know it took an extra month to get the security questionnaire, but we got 160 pages worth of answers here. We think it's a bit of a risk. So we're not really sure that we want you to do it. If you tell the business that they're not going to get their product or their widget or their toy or whatever because of you, you better be ready to go and die on that hill, because they're going to push back. What are you talking about, nerd? Get back in your cage, get cracking on that blue screen monitor with no lights in that room, and get out of my face. You will lose major political capital unless you have a strong case. Right? So one time I saw a case where it was literally a vending machine like Redbox DVDs, except it dispensed pharmaceuticals. So it was an unmanned controlled substance distribution vending machine. You know what I said to that one? That's a terrible idea. Let's not go with that one. Okay. But these things happen, man. And the questionnaires, there's on LinkedIn right now, there's a company that's pushing a service where they fill out the questionnaires for you. GRC analysts get burned out filling out these questionnaires because it's a lot of the same and it feels like it delivers no impact, right? What is the point? Why am I filling this out if we're going to just do it anyways? And I don't want you to get stuck in the apathetic mindset of it doesn't matter. Business is going to do what it's going to do. The reason, in my opinion, to do the questionnaires is to identify any type of gross red flag, to have when you go and contract with that business eventually, that they can, you can say, all right, you attested to these things and here's the contractual relationship. And it's more of a CYA in case something goes sideways. Yeah, there's going to be impact, but now you've got attestation that they have cybersecurity insurance, that they are practicing, best practices with multi-factor authentication. They do have security operations, incident response capabilities, these type of things. But I'm telling you, if you want to do business with like I'm trying to think of a bit like Microsoft and Amazon, they already have all that questionnaire crap already like printed out and ready to go. But I'm trying to think of like say you're going to use Dropbox, right? Dropbox is a big service, but maybe they're not super mature yet, right? If you're going to be like, they're not going to fill one out. They're just going to be like, use our service or not. We're big enough where you're not important to us, right? So these questionnaires, it's a hot mess on fire. Okay. That's all I'm going to say about that. And I'm sure there's a bunch of chat going on here. The questionnaire situation in information security right now, it's a whole process. It's a whole thing. Everybody knows about it. But the impact and value of those questionnaires right now, I call into question. Okay. All right.
And now, a word from our sponsor. Take a webinar now to learn how to get full stack security for your production environment at datadoghq.com/CISO. UK government takes down 2.7 million scams. UK's National Cybersecurity Center said on Tuesday that it stalwarted 2.7 million internet scams last year as part of its active cyber defense initiative. Malicious campaigns included fake celebrity endorsements, vaccine-related scams, bogus extortion emails, and even emails impersonating the NCSC's own CEO, Lindy Cameron. The agency's takedown tally was nearly 4 times greater than in 2020, due in large part to its newly introduced takedown service.
Hold on. I mean, this is really cool that the UK did this. I'm curious, like, what is this takedown service? I mean, dude, like, celebrity scams, fraudulent, all this stuff. That's like not a new concept. Here we go. Let's see. This is the UK takedown service. I'm just curious because for its impact, it's really cool, but how is it operationalized? That's the real question. The service discovers attacks in a variety of ways: spam and phishing feed scanning, sites pretending to be UK banned. Okay, suspicious email reporting services. Okay, so this is interesting. Okay, check this out. You don't need to register to use the takedown service, and you probably don't need to register to submit to report at phishing.gov.uk. This is cool, and I applaud their effort. I mean, obviously, it helped them take down 2.5 million fraud or scams, whether it was sites or just emails. But here's the thing. Guess what? I want to pull a prank on Matt Jones. So I forward Matt Jones, Matt Jones starts a competing business, right? We're going to sell passive vulnerability scanners. Mine is really good, but Matt Jones is better. So what do? When Matt Jones sends out a marketing email, which I subscribe to, I just report it to phishing.gov.uk, and the UK government helps me stifle my competition. So there is a couple use cases where you could abuse this, but by and large, I love this. I don't know how much, and please forgive the terms, right? I don't know how much AI ML is being used to automate validating a true positive versus a false positive on these reported emails. But I would love for the United States government to do something like this. The one thing that I don't get, like, let's say you report a legitimate phishing email. What does the UK government do in this instance? Do they contact the web host provider for a takedown of the URL? If it's being hosted on Google Drive as like a payload you download, like a macro office document, they're not going to shut down Google Drive. So I'm curious what the execution of this looks like, but on its surface, like when you're telling the business people, this is cool. So way to go, UK.
Malware goes regional as attackers change tactics. The new Cloud and Threat report from Netscope reveals that most malware attacks now originate from the same region as the victim, representing a marked tactical shift by threat actors. Netscope attributes this to attackers attempting to avoid geofencing filters and other prevention measures. Additional report findings saw Trojans accounting for 77% of all malware downloads, with attackers using social engineering techniques to get malicious payloads past their victims. Nearly half of malware downloads originate from cloud apps. But on a positive note, attacks involving malicious Microsoft Office documents are on the decline.
Okay, whatever. This is one of those ones. Like Netscope sells a CASB product. They're pointing out that cloud-based attacks are going up. Yada yada yada. Okay, couple key takeaways. Excuse me. Couple key takeaways here. They noted where is it? They just said it in the end of the story. I don't know where it is. That Microsoft Office document attacks are going down. No surprise there, guys. Microsoft has started. I don't know if they've already done it by default, but they are starting to disable macro execution by default in either Windows 11 or like in the newest version of Microsoft Office, something like that. I'm sure chat will confirm or clarify, but basically, no one really needs macros. I get that Carl in accounting has his sweet spreadsheet that he's been working on for 12 years, but guess what, Carl? You're going to have to move on and join the rest of us because you're too much of a liability to the entire business because of your your macro. So we're seeing god dang, we're seeing a decline on those type of things. That's fine. Now, where they say SEO techniques employed to increase visibility, yes. Regional attackers change tactics. I would argue, and correct me if I'm wrong, my SecOps people, dude, like it's trivial to jump on a VPN and push stuff out. It's trivial to spin up an AWS box in the United States region if you live in Eastern Europe and then use that as your attack infrastructure. So cloud has obviously made things a lot easier for doing this kind of like nuance to an attack, right? This isn't the attack. This is just changing where the attack is originating from. So geolocations and where's the IP address coming from doesn't show up in people's security dashboards because every dashboard's got the world map with a little pin on it or the country lit up, to call your attention to it. So I wouldn't call this a new tactic. I would call it, maybe there's an increase in it, but you guys should be mindful. Do not, if you're a junior analyst or you're a one person shop, do not log into your security dashboard, your Office 365 security.microsoft.com, and just look at the world map and be like, well, looks like only the United States is colored, because usually it's all like beige, and then like the countries where the traffic's originating from will light up. It's like, oh, we've got one from Vietnam. Let's investigate that. Oh, like it's nothing. Okay, like we're good to go. No, like you can't rely on geolocations anymore. Like you really shouldn't have been relying on them to begin with. But
And now for our You Should Probably Patch That segment continued. Following up on the F5 Big IP remote code execution vuln we reported to you last week on cybersecurity headlines, researchers are warning that threat actors are now exploiting the critical bug to deliver malicious code. Meanwhile, Microsoft's May 2022 Patch Tuesday addresses 3 zero-day vulnerabilities, including one related to Windows LSA spoofing, which is actively being exploited. The other 2 0 days allow for DOS attacks on Hyper-V and RCE attacks on Azure Synapse and Data Factory, with public exploits now available for both of these bugs. In total, Microsoft fixed 75 flaws, 8 of which are rated critical. China scrapping millions of...
Okay, so this is basically like a little bit of a patch your stuff roundup. 3 0 days for the May patch. Now, guys, it's May 11th, right? So the Windows patches already came out. In a decent sized org or larger, you will patch like a couple pilot machines, then like usually like maybe the IT department or a set of like security champion users to make sure that it doesn't break different kind of critical apps in the environment. Then you push to the whole environment. So maybe a week, 10 days, depending on the size of your organization, ideally. This is just, guys, this is vulnerability management 101. This is why vulnerability management is a job and not a checklist or like like a forgotten thing, right? Like it's every month there's more patches. You can't patch all the things, as we like to say on this show. So you need to do vulnerability management. How bad is this? Can we mitigate the risk down? Do I need to escalate this? Do we need to get a formal acceptance of the risk of not patching these things, right? Don't get me started on vulnerability management. You know what? I got to tell you another thing about vulnerability management. Basically, the key takeaway is patch your stuff, right? Especially this this LSA spoofing one, CVE 2022 26925, just rolls off the tongue, right? They said this one's being actively exploited in the wild. So you definitely want to investigate this one and make sure that you're either not at risk of it or you have expedited this as a priority. Okay. And the nice thing is Microsoft actually lays out how can an attacker exploit this, etc. Guys, unauthenticated attacker looks like they have to be on your network though, which kind of reduces the risk. But if they've already got a foothold in your network, you could be screwed. So just make sure you're patching this one. The thing with vulnerability management, guys, you have to pick your battles. Do not listen. This is a PSA announcement. The more you know. Listen, my dogs are losing it. Vulnerability management, do not get apathetic. Do not get beat down. I'm telling you right now, you can have, I mean, I've been in environments with hundreds of thousands of open vulnerabilities, okay? Do not get down. Just focus. How do you eat a sandwich? One bite at a time, right? Don't boil the ocean. All these metaphors and analogies. Listen, pick the most critical ones, the ones that add real value, add real risk reduction to your environment, and target those. You'll have a more compelling use case to sell. You'll be able to get more buy-in. You'll seem less of a Chicken Little, and you can really reduce risk for your organization. So don't look at the number of found vulnerabilities in your scanner or in your environment, your dashboards. Just focus on the high ones. Once you get the critical ones done, then focus on the high ones. Chances are, by the time you get the critical ones down, if you can, there'll be a new round of critical ones. So I'm not saying don't try to do as much as you can, but just focus on the critical ones, right? Risk-based approach to securing things, guys.
Computers over security concerns. Due to software security concerns emerging from the U.S. tech war, China has directed its government agencies to discard over 50 million computers within the next 2 years. As per the plan, all Microsoft-owned Windows operating systems will be replaced with new homegrown OS software, and any incompatible hardware will also need to be replaced. China has yet to take a strict stance on the use of Microsoft-owned products at private companies. And
man, okay, so basically, what is China have like Chinese Windows I mean, like, not Chinese Windows OS, but like they have a current homegrown OS. I'd be curious what it's called, but like, dude, China is they're powerful, man. If they want to have their own like new operating system, they just get it. That's pretty awesome. You know what's sad about this story? 50 million computers are going to get basically thrown away or discarded because they have Microsoft Windows on it. Couple things here. One, this is a major hit to Microsoft, right? Think about here. I wonder really quick, Microsoft stock. Like, dude, losing China as a customer, that's pretty devastating. Now, granted, Microsoft Azure is going leaps and bounds. They're making a ton of money. I'm kind of curious if this had any impact. Look at this. Now, I don't know if this is related, but they went from 289 to 264. So $30, maybe 10%, roughly, a little less than 10%, 8% in a couple days, maybe on this news. But dude, losing China as a client is pretty harsh. Plus, with the supply chain and the tech shortage, the chip shortage, all these things, this sucks for human society, human civilization. 50 million fine computers that could go to people in need. I know China isn't like trying to help the United States out, but just think about how many, 50 million people could be helped by getting access to technology, learning a new skill, helping the modern workforce. So this is sad, man. This is like watching money be burned like in an incinerator. You're just like, God dang. Ugh, that's frustrating. So whatever. China's going to have their own OS, which, by the way, will have its own set of vulnerabilities, own set of concerns and stuff like that. So actually, this is another kind of fun wrinkle to this whole story. What's really interesting, on top of everything I've already said, is that think about this. When Microsoft releases a security patch, hundreds of millions of people using Microsoft Windows helping find vulnerabilities. They get patched quick. We just saw 3 zerodays get patched, right? When the Chinese computer operating system has a bug or something, they're going to have a smaller user community finding those bugs. I don't know who's going to be supporting this operating system, but you're going to need a fleet of developers maintaining the source code for this operating system, patching it, so that's going to introduce an entire level of effort by the Chinese government to support this operating system. And it's not like, China's adversaries aren't going to get a copy of the operating system and begin reversing it, looking for bugs, having their Vault 7 leaks, etc. So just interesting. Stay tuned to that. Definitely not a surprise that Microsoft stock is going down. Now, guys, that does it for the cybersecurity threat briefing part of it. I do want to share with you guys that later today at 11:30 a.m., I will be playing live the cybersecurity simulation platform Red versus Blue presented by ThreatGen. Guys, I'm wearing my red team shirt today because I'm going to be a red teamer all day. I will be assuming the identity of a hacktivist who is bullsh at an oil and gas company in North Dakota for their pipeline activities. I'm going to bring them down. I'm going to hack him. I'm going to embarrass them. And my goal is to drive them out of business by ruining their financials. I don't want to blow up their oil and gas refinery because I don't want to damage the environment, guys. I'm an environmental hacktivist, but I will be bringing them down. I will walk through and explain my methodology on all my decisions. I am better at the defensive side than the offensive side, but I do have some thoughts on how to execute the offensive side. So if you go to ThreatGen's YouTube channel, which is like youtube.com/ThreatGen, basically, you can join us there. It's a good time. I have a good time. The people who have shown up have had a good time. So please join us at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to walk through the simulator and see how things work in practice. Also, later today, tomorrow at 4:30, I will be my own guest on Simply Cyber Live, and I will be walking through the GRC entry-level interview. I'll be basically simulating the GRC entry-level interview. My goal with this stream is to remove any anxiety and really bolster your confidence in being able to walk in like 80s rock star style into an interview. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to show you this. 80s rock star style, just be like kick open the door and just be like, ah, right? You're gonna dominate that GRC interview after this session, because I'm gonna go through every question that I can think of and find on what would you hear at an interview, right? So you'll get the question, then I'll give you my answer. But the real value here, right? The real value here is that I'm gonna tell you why the interviewer is asking you that question. What are they trying to get at, right? There's a bigger reason to ask questions. So you might not get the same exact question that I say in this live stream, but what you will get is the mindset of why those questions are being asked. And you'll be able to pivot and answer those questions because you'll understand what the interviewer is actually trying to ask you, and you'll be able to answer it in a way that is personalized to you, impactful for the interview itself, and just going to leave a great, forgive the terminology, leave a great taste in the interviewer's mouth. So I'm super pumped about doing this one. I've hired several people. Oh, hey, thanks, Malik, for joining the squad. I've interviewed tons of people for GRC entry-level jobs. I've hired people into these jobs to work for me. So we're gonna dominate this one, okay, guys? It's gonna be a good time. All right, guys. Went a couple minutes over, but that's all right. Special thanks to Matt Jones for joining us today. I hope he becomes a new a regular. Guys, hope you enjoyed the Carl and Randy Moss new additions. This has been the Daily Cyber Threat Briefing. Guys, thanks so much for being here. We will see as many of you as possible, I hope, at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time today on the ThreatGen channel. Have a good one, everybody. Cheers.